VP ba in 2022, is it entitled for the confidential fund?
Tama po, Madam Speaker. At uulitin ko, tama po. At ang dahilan po ay ganito po. Ang ginamit po dito ay ang contingent fund. In 2022, the contingent in 2022,
ng contingent. Tinatanong
in
ko lang.
2022,
Madam Speaker, tinatanong ko lang kanina.
Madam Speaker, kahit na 2 oras po tayo dito, I will give it to you.
Ang sinasabi ko, Madam Speaker,
At wala pong medical expense po dyan. Wala po ako nakita medical expense sa mga dokumento.
sabi natin, so I beg to disagree na merong expressly provided for na budget allocation ang OVP sa taong 2022.
We've complied with the requirements of the special provision item appropriation. So I want that clear. It is a line item appropriation.
Majority Leader.
Madam
Thank you very
Speaker,
much.
pwede ko bang
Majority Leader.
Magandang araw sa atin lahat, mga kababayan. Sadyang hinahabol nga ni France Castro itong si Vice President Sara Duterte dahil ang issue ng confidential fund na nilipat ng Office of the President to the Office of the Vice President ay hinalungkat pa sa pagdinig ng fiscal year 2024 budget deliberation dito sa House of Representatives. Ngunit hindi ito nakaporma kay Congressman Quimbo at sinupalpal ito ng sangkatutak na dokumento at supporting documents mula mismo sa Supreme Court na nagpapatunay na legal itong pag-transfer ng confidential fund mula sa Office of the President to the Office of the Vice President. Ngunit itong si France Castro ay sadyang ayaw nga tumigil, mga kababayan po natin, at hanggang sa kahuli-hulihan na extend na itong kanilang debate, itong kanyang oras para nga naman magtanong ay naubos na, binigyan na ito ng pagkakataon, in-extend na ito ng chairman ng committee, ngunit si France Castro ay humihirit pa. Kalaunan ay kinulos na nga ang kanilang pag-uusap, ngunit napatunayan ng sponsor na si Congressman Quimbo na walang mali sa ginawang pag-transfer ng pondo mula sa Office of the President to the Office of the Vice President kasi ito ay legal at ginamit ng tama ng Office of the Vice President.
About confidential funds on the okay, so yun. So, yung provision po ba ng confidential funds that is in the 2022 budget is the same as in the provision for 2024 budget. Po, number one, yun po bang general provisions ng confidential funds ng 2022 ay the same text as in the confidential funds in the 2024 budget? Parehas lang po ba sila ng text? O may kaibahan? Parehas lang po ba ito? Or hindi? Kung hindi, ano po yung difference?
Madam Speaker, they are identical.
Okay. Thank you for that answer. So, malinaw po no, yung guidelines natin on confidential and intelligence funds na nakalagay sa general guidelines ng 2022 is the same as in the 2024 budget. Okay? So, according to the Joint Circular number 2015-01 on January 8, 2015, nakalagay po dito, no, pwede niyo pang banggitin, Madam Speaker, ano ba yung subject nitong Joint Circular 2015-01 on January 8, 2015. Nitong JC 2015-1, who are entitled to CF and or Intelligence Fund.
which are expressly provided, budget allocation for CF and or IF under the JA and or other laws, GOCCs as provided in their COBs, in respect only to CF as may be expressly authorized by the GCG under RA number 10149 and by the DBM for all other GOCCs and LGUs whose peace and order is a priority concern and which have duly allocated CF but not IF in their annual appropriation ordinances, provided that specific amount for POP is included in their peace and order and public safety plan, and provided further there is a specific appropriation for POP in their annual budget, that the computation of allowable CF of an LGU shall be based on the budget of the LGU's POP only. Madam Speaker.
Yes, thank you, distinguished sponsor, Madam Speaker. So, in that general provision, who are entitled to CF and IF, so do you agree that the NGAs with expressly provided budget allocations are only entitled to CF or IF?
Yes, Madam Speaker.
Okay, pag sinabi nating expressly provided budget allocation, ibig sabihin, meron po siyang amount.
Tama po,
Okay,
Madam
so
Speaker.
sinasabi din natin na hindi amount, yung zero. Kasi hindi siya expressly provided for doon sa, expressly provided for budget allocation. Ang tanong ko po, so hindi budget allocation ang zero?
Tama po.
Wala, okay, tama. So kung walang nakalagay, kasi maglalagay ka ng mga 000 doon sa net. So hindi talaga, kung wala talagang expressly provided for budget allocations, hindi ito entitled. So ano po yung prinsipyo behind that? Ang prinsipyo behind that, sa atin po, sa Kongreso, kaya natin hinihigpitan itong CF dahil para lang dahil ang Kongreso lang ang merong karapatan o merong authorization na maglagay ng budget allocation for confidential fund. At kung gumastos ng CF nang wala naman sa GAA, ang ibig sabihin nito, Madam Speaker, ito ay unauthorized or unlawful obligation or expenditure. Tama po ba?
Sorry. Okay, ulit po, Madam Speaker.
So, kanina po ang sinabi ng ating sponsor, Madam Speaker, based doon sa provisions or based doon sa guidelines na ang NGA which has expressly provided budget allocation for CF and CF. So mahalaga dito, Madam Speaker, na merong expressly provided for na budget. At ang zero ay hindi yun budget allocation. At hindi naman natin talaga nilalagay yan, Madam Speaker. So, ibig sabihin nito, pag gumastos ng CF kahit wala sa GAA, ito ay unauthorized or unlawful obligation or expenditure. Tama o mali? Kapag walang nakalagay na expressly provided for sa budget allocation, okay, at wala ito doon sa GAA.
Tama po.
So, ang paggastos nito ay unauthorized or unlawful obligation or expenditure.
Tama po.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Speaker. So, ang OVP ba in 2022, is it entitled for the confidential fund?
Tama po, Madam Speaker.
Is the OVP, ulitin ko is the OVP entitled? Entitled po ba ang OVP ng confidential fund?
Madam Speaker, tama po at uulitin ko, tama po. At ang dahilan po ay ganito po. Ang ginamit po dito ay ang contingent fund. In 2022, the contingent fund, in 2022,
ng contingent. Tinatanong ko lang.
in 2022,
Madam Speaker, tinatanong ko lang kanina.
Madam Speaker,
Okay.
in 2022,
So, hindi ko na kailangan ng paliwanag. Okay, so, tinatanong ko kanina, Madam Speaker, kanina, sinasabi natin, Madam Speaker, tinatanong ko lang, ang sagot po ay yes or no. So, hindi naman po ako nag-aano ng paliwanag para doon. So, sinasabi, ang sagot na, Madam Speaker, kanina, entitled ang OVP ng confidential fund in year 2022. So your answer is yes. Okay? So Madam Speaker, may papakita po akong PowerPoint doon sa 2022 budget kung paano natin sinasabi na may expressly provided for. So dito, sa 2022 na budget, makikita natin dyan yung confidential, intelligence, and extraordinary expenses. So yan po yung parang pinaka-heading, no? Under that, merong extraordinary and miscellaneous expense. Tama naman po yung ating sponsor, Madam Speaker, na wala dyan. Okay? Pero kung titignan natin yung 2023 na budget, ayan, budget for 2023, may confidential fund. So, confidential, intelligence, and extraordinary expenses. Confidential expenses, malinaw, 500 million na inaprubahan natin noong 2022. At meron ding extraordinary and miscellaneous expenses na 620,000. Okay? So, yung difference ng dalawa, Madam Speaker, here, it is expressly provided for budgetary allocation. In 2022, ay wala. Tignan natin yung Office of the President. OP in 2022, Madam Speaker, may confidential fund at intelligence fund. Okay? Under pa rin sa heading ng confidential, intelligence, and extraordinary expenses. Merong confidential, merong extraordinary miscellaneous expenses, at meron ding intelligence expenses na inaprubahan natin noong 2022. Okay, next. Noong 2023 na budget ng OP. So, ganun pa rin, the same pa rin. Merong intelligence, merong extraordinary, merong confidential expenses. So, ang ibig sabihin, Madam Speaker, based on our example, kung hindi siya expressly provided for budgetary allocation, wala. Okay? Wala ang 2022 na confidential fund under the Vice President, under the OVP. Tama po ba yon, Madam Speaker?
Madam Speaker, una sa lahat, one can force her opinion, but one cannot force her facts. Una sa lahat, maling bahagi ng libro ang tinitignan po ninyo. Maliwanag, nagdeklara ang Supreme Court na ang contingent fund
Okay.
ay isang
So,
line item appropriation.
Madam Speaker,
So, ibig
wala
sabihin
tayo
nun-
dun sa contingent fund.
So, ibig sabihin nun,
Hindi po natin pinag-uusapan dito.
Please
yung
allow the
contingent
sponsor
fund.
to finish your statement.
No. Kasi po, Madam Speaker, ang tinatanong ko lang dito, kung meron o wala, na expressly
sumagot po ako,
provided
Madam
for.
Speaker,
Wala pa po
meron,
sa contingent
at
fund.
payagan niyo po akong ipaliwanag kung bakit meron. Ang problema po is ayaw po natin makinig. Gusto ko po, Madam
Hindi po
Speaker,
ako ayaw
ipaliwanag kung bakit...
na ano po yung oras ko, Madam Speaker. Pinapatanong kaya nga po, yes or no lang po para mas mabilis.
Madam
So, kanina, sinasabi natin, ako nagtatanong-
payagan
Question
niyo sana
suspended.
ako, Madam Speaker. It was the 2022 appropriation for contingent fund, Madam Chair.
Okay. So, nagkaroon ngayon ng ng contingent fund na 125 million released on December 13 and disbursed by December 31, 2022. Tama po ba?
Yes, Madam Speaker.
Okay. Pwede ba na magbigay ang president ng confidential fund sa ibang ahensya o sa sarili niya ng walang authorization ng Congress?
Madam Speaker, anong definition ng bigay? Madam Speaker.
I mean, pwede bang so ito kasi binanggit mo kanina yung contingent, binanggit na natin kanina yung contingent. So pwede bang magbigay ang presidente ng ng confidential fund ng OBP na nanggaling sa contingent fund?
Madam Speaker, define bigay, Madam Speaker.
Well, ano bang ibig sabihin ng English ng bigay? So from the contingent fund na 7 billion, nag-transfer from contingent fund
Madam Speaker,
authorized by the President through the recommendations ng DBM from contingent fund ay nag-transfer ng CF or confidential fund sa 2022 na budget. O sa
Madam Speaker.
OVP budget.
Madam Speaker, ang problema kasi sa salitang bigay is hindi naman po yan sa presidente. Kaya hindi po niya pwedeng ibigay yan. Ang contingent fund,
Okay,
Madam
sige,
Speaker, ay special
Madam
purpose
Speaker,
fund.
transfer.
Hindi po yan pagmamayari ng presidente po. Ang contingent fund ay special purpose fund, subject to the approval of the president, Madam Speaker. So, please qualify the word bigay, Madam Speaker.
Yes, sige. Yung transfer na lang po.
Please
siguro hindi
qualify. Please
maintindihan.
define the word transfer,
So,
Madam Speaker.
So kung nag-request ang OVP sa Office of the President ng CS
Madam
o
Speaker,
yung
you cannot request from the president, Madam Speaker.
So saan po nag-request ang OVP ng confidential fund?
Madam
Bakit
Speaker, yan ang
merong-
problema sa ating
Bakit meron
Kasama.
sa nakalagay sa financial report, yung SAOB, na nanggaling sa contingent fund? Okay? So, galing sa contingent fund, etong 125, plus yung, Madam Chair, yung medical, medical expenses na more than 90 million, medical or financial expenses. So, ang total nga niya na nanggaling sa sa contingent fund ay 221 billion 424.
Madam Speaker, it is very clear that our colleague is confused about the nature of this fund, a special purpose fund.
Okay.
This is lodged with the DBM, whatever time is needed to clarify this very important issue. Kahit na 2 oras po tayo dito, I will give it to you.
Ang sinasabi ko, Madam Speaker,
At wala pong medical expense po dyan. Wala po ako nakita medical expense sa mga dokumento.
okay? So kung bibigyan lang ako ng pagkakataon, Madam Speaker, doon sa pinanggalingan, nitong tinutukoy nating 125 billion na confidential fund, at saka doon sa tinutukoy nating 96.4 na medical or financial assistance, kasi naka-reflect doon sa SARO. Kung pwedeng maipakita, Madam Speaker, sa PowerPoint, meron din po tayo noon, ng DBM, ng pondong ito na nanggaling dun sa contingent fund. So, yun po.
ano po yung tanong?
221,424,000, Madam Speaker.
So, ano po yung tanong? Saan siya galing? Ang tanong is bakit walang Congress approval? Meron po, okay, ang congressional approval po ay yung contingent fund. Okay? Yun po ang appropriation. At maliwanag po, base sa Supreme Court decision, na iyan po ay valid na line item appropriation. Maliwanag po yun. Dahil yun nga po yung purpose, maliwanag po sa Belica versus Ochoa, na yan ang purpose ng contingent fund. Dahil nga po, hindi na nga po natin ma-anticipate lahat po ng pangangailangan ng ating gobyerno 2 years in advance. Kaya nilalagay sa special purpose fund, sa DBM, at hinihingi na lang ng ahensya sa DBM ang kanilang pangangailangan in kaso na mayroong new or urgent project or activities as they go along. So yun po ang purpose. At naka-indicate po sa special provision ang mga examples sa ganyang mga pangangailangan. But it is very clear na hindi limited sa 3 examples na naka-enumerate. So yun po, dito sa special provision, ito po ang authorization sa paggamit ng contingent fund. Ngayon po, ang importante po is merong existing line item doon po sa Office of the Vice President. At maliwanag po, ang existing line item doon po sa Office of the Vice President 2022 GAA, which is the Good Governance Project and Social Services Project. Yun po yung existing line item, of which one of the objects of expenditure is confidential expense. Liliwanagin ko po. Ang confidential expense is not a line item. Hindi po siya line item. Hindi po lahat na nakikita ninyong salita doon sa NEP o sa GAA ay line item. Hindi po. Ang line item lamang sa NEP o sa GAA ay ang tinatawag na projects, activities, or programs. Yung PAP, yun lamang po ang line item. Ang iba po doon, yung objects of expenditure, hindi po yung online item. Tulad ng PS, MOOE, capital outlay, yung pong supplies, traveling expenses, hindi po yung line item. Ang tanging line item ay yung mga tinatawag na PAP. Ang PAP doon sa OVP 2022 budget na kung saan kasama ang confidential expense ay yung nabanggit ko na nga po na good governance, engagements, and social services project. Kaya po, sinasabi natin na authorized po, expressly allowed po itong confidential expense noong 2022.
Pero hindi pa rin niya sinasagot po no, yung tanong ko. Itong contingent fund, Madam Speaker, this is some sort of discretionary funds appropriated for a particular officials. Yung 125 million. So yun po ang sinasabi natin. So I beg to disagree na merong expressly provided for na budget allocation ang OVP sa taong 2022.
Mang dito sa contingent fund special provision ay, and I shall read the following special provision. The amount of 13 billion pesos appropriated herein shall cover the funding requirements of new or urgent activities or projects. So yun lang po ang kailangan, na merong new or urgent activity or project. At pinakita natin na merong ganong klaseng activity at sinabi ko na po earlier at ang pangalan ng activity na yon ay yun na nga po, good governance, engagements, etc. So, yun na po, pinakita na po natin, yun na po ang sinatisfy na po natin ang conditions stated here dito po sa ating special provision. So, we've complied with the requirements of the special provision.
Speaker, hindi pa rin po ako satisfied sa sagot. Ba o dapat na magkaroon ng contingent fund ang isang ahensya. Otherwise, Madam Speaker, yung executive can grant itself CF and IF na unchecked. So therefore, kahit na kailan na lang itong contingent fund kung gagamitin, kung saan man o kung saan mang mga budget, kung wala naman ito doon sa line item ay hindi rin pwede. So yun po yung sinasabi natin.
To state that the Supreme Court has ruled on the constitutionality of the contingent fund. Again, the purpose of the fund is to cover funding requirements for the unforeseen or urgent projects that would arise during the year, and it is really impossible for Congress to identify such contingencies, and so such fund really needs to, there's a purpose for that kind of a fund, and item appropriation. So I want that clear. It is a line item appropriation.
Majority Leader. Madam Speaker, pwede ko bang
Majority Leader.